This is Scott Becker with the Becker Private Equity Podcast, the Becker Business Minute Podcast. Thrilled today to get to visit with Justin Breen. Justin is the founder of BrEpic. He's had this magnificent career. He's also the author of a couple of books and so many interesting things. Justin, tell us about what you're doing right now. What are you doing right now, and why does that inspire you, and how does that work?
Yeah, it's great to talk to you, and I'm out on the West Coast this week at an event called Abundance 360. If I could simplify it, it's 300 plus of the top entrepreneur, futurist visionaries on the planet, and then they come together for a week to talk about what they're up to. So to be surrounded by conversations like that for a full week is, that's what I do most of the day. It's usually on Zoom. But to be doing this in person is it's just unbelievable.
And talk about how that sort of inspires you going forward, what you learn from it. What's the what does it do for you?
That's a fair question, Scott. The purpose of my life is to be a connecting superhero for every visionary who shares their stories with the world. So being in a room literally with hundreds of visionaries who, and all of them have amazing stories to share with the world, it allows me to serve the purpose of my life. And what I found is as grateful as I am for all these visionaries, they're just as grateful for me because it's like collaborative brains, because they're ideators that are kind of all over the place, and they're creating all these companies that are changing the world. It's just hard for them to simplify. It's hard for them to simplify exactly what they're doing to humans, and then it's as hard, if not harder, for them to be connected to the right people. So I'm really good at distilling all that information and all the things they're up to, and then here's your answer, and then here's your right connection. So it's just a fascinating mix of brains and people who are genuinely trying to help humanity.
And we think sometimes there's a great book from some years ago called Fill One's Bucket or Fill Your Bucket or something like that. And the idea was you do certain things that add to your bucket that make you feel better or make the people around you feel better. Talk about when you come away from an event like this, does it leave you with your bucket more full, so as to simplify, feeling a little bit imbued more positively to go forward and keep doing what you're doing? Is that part of one of the great benefits of doing what you're doing currently at Abundance 360?
Well, that's a great question. And so I guess my regular day is having 5 to 10 of these type of conversations, whether it's on the phone or on Zoom. This is like that on steroids. So my bucket is always being filled because constantly in the purpose of my life, I would say this is like an accelerant to that. It's a giant accelerant to that. And I am very much in favor of Zoom and doing phone things because that allows me to spend time with my family. I'd much rather be home. But for an event like this, it's worth coming to California, even though it's really cold here now, surprisingly, but it's worth coming here because in this type of room with these type of people, the energy, the collective energy that's created, I really can't describe it unless you're here. The way your brain is, you hold all these events with big speakers, so you understand. But for someone who doesn't understand what it's like to be around, 10 visionaries, let alone 300, you really have to experience something like this to really understand what it means.
But the point is, I guess the lesson in it is, whether it's this particular event or thousands of other events, knowing yourself and knowing that this will fill your bucket and imbue you with positivity and help you reach your life goals and help you move forward. It's I think the thing that I so admire about you, Justin, is the willingness to put yourself out and do these things that it's not so much that they have this immediate tangible benefit. Oh my God, I'm going to meet this guy. It's going to meet this or that. But it's part of a life process of constantly self-improvement, self-encouragement, self-motivation, and then being able to connect to others and so forth. And I guess the lesson I take away from it is constantly encouraging people to put themselves out there and engage in things that can help fill their bucket and help them get better or become more motivated or become more excited about what they're doing. I think to me, when I see you excited about this and post about it and talk to the people that meet, the things you do, the lesson I get for others is that it's so important to take those chances to do those things that lead you to continuing to have your optimism, your enthusiasm. It's like putting gas on the flames. It's constantly trying to find ways to keep that flame and that excitement going. And I think it's so healthy that you make the effort to do these things. I think everybody, it takes effort to do it. I think it's fantastic.
Well, I'll give you an analogy or a story because it just happened like an hour ago. So we're literally on the ocean here, or 10 feet from it. And so it's like there's cliffs. So I run every day, and ran down to it's not really a beach, it's like rocky, but so ran down and then ran up this, it's basically a cliff, ran up a cliff, which, we're in Illinois, there's no cliffs in Illinois. So I'm not used to that. And I'm certainly not going to swear during this, but like when I was running up that hill, I was not a happy camper, but then got to the top of it and I'm like, oh man, this view is amazing. And I feel exhilarated. And it's the same thing with like putting yourself out there. Like it's not comfortable. It kind of hurts sometimes. You can maybe get humiliated sometimes. It's, there's travel involved sometimes, but like when you get to the top, you're like, oh man, that was worth it. And oh man, now I feel better. And now I can see things more clearly. And that's how I learn in real time. Even like as I was running up this hill, I'm like, I know it'll be worth it at the top. Like, I know it'll be worth flying out here. I know I don't really want to leave my family, but in this case, I know it's worth it. And so I just think most people get stopped at the bottom of the hill. They don't want to run up it. They just look at the hill. And I'm just like, I look at the top. I'm like, oh, that's a good place to be. So I just have to power through it.
But I think it's a fabulous way of looking at things because you have to constantly put yourself out, constantly make that one extra effort, that one more chance, that one more visit to keep yourself full and keep moving in the right direction and motivated. And the alternative is a horrendous alternative. It's a life of stagnation. So I think it's to be admired. And so again, Justin Breen, founder of BrEpic, author of Epic Business, Epic Life, God knows how many more bestsellers he's got coming. Thank you so much. Thank you, Justin, for joining us today. What a pleasure to visit with you always. Thank you very, very much.
Endless cliffs to climb, Scott. Keep climbing.
That might be the title of the next book. Epic Cliffs to Climb.
Oh, no. I think it's going to be Epic World, Scott. I actually thought of this the other day. I'm like, Epic World sounds good. So
love it. We're looking forward to it. Thank you so much for joining us. And Grace Keller, our remarkable producer, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.